Welcome back to Empowering Educators. I'm Dr. Tolbut, the founder of Empowering Educators, and it's August, and you're probably wondering, where have we been? Where did we disappear to? So, as we're getting ready to relaunch this brand and relaunch this company, I just wanted to have a heart-to-heart with you and fill you in on what's been going on. And the answer is real life. We started this company at the end of last year and launched our brand starting in January. I was super excited, super fired up. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to help educators and parents and school professionals be the change in their school communities, in their classrooms, and bring more diversity and inclusion and equity. And then at the end of January, we had a shift and a change in administration with our country. And my goal was never to have this business, this channel, this brand be about politics. But the reality is that you can't kind of get away from it. Suddenly, here we were with a new presidential administration, and DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion were suddenly being tossed out left, right, and center. Suddenly, all we heard was DEI this and DEI at that. And to find out, most people really didn't know what DEI was. And quite frankly, I kind of got a little depressed. And I kind of got a little down. And I kind of got a little defeated. And so by the time February rolled around, me, like many people in this country, found themselves kind of questioning, what next? What do we do? What's education going to look like going forward? Changes were happening so rapidly that I felt like I couldn't wrap my head around them. I couldn't keep up. I didn't know what the next news report was going to bring. And suddenly I found myself doom scrolling on social media. I found myself doom scrolling on all the news sites. I even went so far as to start a junk journal where I was every single day printing out news reports and political cartoons and all of the stuff that was happening across the country because things were changing so rapidly. And I kind of felt the need to keep up, and I kind of felt the need to capture what was going on in our world. And the reality is that caused me a lot of burnout. By the end of March, I was even questioning whether I wanted to keep teaching at all. And the business just kind of fell by the wayside, which meant my website fell by the wayside, this YouTube channel fell by the wayside, our social media, and I just couldn't cope. So I stepped away. And then some things started happening that brought me back to this point. So first of all, I'm a mom, and our oldest child was a senior this year, and nobody tells you how busy and crazy senior year really is. Every time I turned around, we were having to go to something, do something, fill out some form, apply for this, apply for that, visit here, visit there. And I found myself just really overwhelmed with trying to be a mom, be a teacher, and run a business. And I realized that there were a lot of lasts that I was never going to have with her again. And I wanted to really be fully in the moment. And so as much as I kind of hated to push everything aside, I started doing that more and more because I realized that the time with her was precious. And even though she's not really going away, she is going away. She's not going to be here day in and day out. And I really wanted to take the time to really bond and spend more and more time with her. And so other things kind of fell by the wayside. My youngest started middle school. No one prepares you for what life as the mom of a middle schooler is going to be like. On top of her growing and changing and becoming more mature and yet still wanting to be treated like a young child, there was a lot of navigating to do. a new school, new curriculum, new teachers, just all the challenges that come with middle school. And so, on top of trying to balance a graduating senior, I was also trying to balance a middle schooler. And suddenly, I started putting things aside. And then, like I said, I went through this period where I kind of got overwhelmed. I found myself constantly doom scrolling, constantly wondering what was next. What was going to happen? What was going to happen to education? What's going to happen to my kids? What's going to happen to my students? What was life going to look like from here on out? The world was rapidly changing, and I really didn't know how to deal with it. And I didn't deal with it very well. I'm not ashamed to say that I went through a period of depression and anxiety and just questioning everything. Here I was, having just started this company, this brand, trying to build it up, trying to build teachers and families and communities up, and kind of felt like people were trying to tear those communities and families and teachers down. And so it really became a struggle to kind of stay in that push, stay in that mindset. Even though I knew I was doing what was right, there was still a little part of me that wondered, does anybody care? Is anybody going to pay attention? Does anybody even want what we have to offer? But then something started to change. I realized a few things. First of all, I realized that I'm still really passionate about teaching. And I'm not ready to walk away from my classroom just yet. Will I at some point? Sure, I will. Down the line, when the right opportunity comes, when a door opens that no one else can shut, then you know what? I'll walk through that door and I'll make that change. And no matter what, I'm still going to work with kids. I'm still going to work with teachers. It's going to be great. But for now, I'm going to walk into my classroom, in fact, tomorrow morning, and set things up and be prepped and ready to welcome a couple hundred kids who, quite frankly, I'm really excited to see. Secondly, I did a lot of studying. You can't really see it, but if you were to take a quick view of my desk, I'm drowning in books. Piles and piles of books. And I couldn't be more excited. I suddenly found a passion. After I got my doctorate, I said, that's it. I'm done. No more classes. No more education. No more school. Well, maybe not the no more school part. But I didn't want to take any classes. And I didn't want to read any, educational books. I wanted to read fun stuff. Stuff that I had bought at places, bookstores, Barnes and Nobles, stacked up. Things I'd ordered off my Amazon cart and said, oh, when I finish my doctorate, I'm going to read this or I'm going to read that just for fun. And I was really excited to do all of that. But like most people who are bookaholics, I suddenly found myself also buying all the educational books and all the historical related books and books about diversity and books about social justice and books about inclusion and books about different psychological theories, and those started piling up. And then suddenly towards the end of the school year and the beginning of summer, I had all this free time on my hands and I had all these piles of books, and so I started reading. I started studying again. And I'd forgotten how much I really enjoyed it. And so really for the first time since I got my doctorate, I'm kind of back to being a student. Maybe not in the official setting, but at least, in my home office. And so I've really been diving into things. Like I said, theories about social justice, looking at new historical concepts that are being introduced all of the time, psychological theories to best help our students, ways to bring in inclusion and diversity into our classrooms, what equity really means. And I kind of found that passion again. Suddenly I started thinking, you know what? Maybe we can do this. Even though the rest of the world is saying, no, don't, this is bad. I know that bringing inclusion, bringing equity, introducing diversity to classrooms, school systems and communities, it's what's right. And ultimately, we should always do what's right. And then the final thing that pushed me over the edge to want to get started back was this really amazing opportunity I had. Last school year, I applied to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C. for something called their Museum Teacher Fellows Program. It's a program where educators from all over the country are chosen to become teacher fellows, to help spread the message of the museum, to help spread the museum's resources, and keep alive the memory of those that were lost in the Holocaust. And when I applied for it, I thought, oh, this is like a pipe dream. This is something that I've always wanted. Since I was a fifth grader, I've been fascinated with World War II and the history and the story of the Holocaust, thanks to my dad. And I thought, wow, this would be a dream come true. But I really didn't think I had a chance. I filled out the application and I got an interview. I did the interview, and as soon as I got done, I called my husband and I said, I'm pretty sure I just blew that. I'm pretty sure there's no way in the world that they're going to choose me. And that was the end. And I thought, okay, well, time to move on and find the next thing. Well, shock and surprise, they chose me. Out of over 100 educators across the country that applied, 14 of us were chosen to be museum teacher fellows. And so I went to DC this summer and I spent time studying and learning and growing. And it reinvigorated this want to see a change happen. It reinvigorated my commitment to doing what was right. One of the lines that the museum lives by is, what you do matters. And that's true. What we do does matter. And what I do should matter. And so here we are, August 2025, after a really long break that I didn't plan for and I didn't expect. But suddenly I'm back. I'm super passionate. I want to see empowering educators do exactly what we set out for it to do in the beginning. I want to empower teachers. I want to empower communities and school groups. I want people to realize that diversity, equity, and inclusion is more than just some catchphrase. It's more than some 3-letter acronym. It's important, and it's what's right for our students. And in the end, that's really all that matters. No matter what anybody else thinks, no matter what anybody else says, we as educators know what's right for students. And we need to focus on that. So that's what I'm going to do. Starting this month, we're going to relaunch our brand. You're going to have weekly YouTube videos again. You're going to see us explode on social media. We've got some great things planned. I'm even going to learn how to use TikTok, which I said I would never do. But I realize that as we continue to grow and change, that means growing and changing with the times. Students are using TikTok. Educators are using TikTok. I got to learn TikTok. You're also going to see that we're going to start to showcase more of the social justice side of things, more culturally relevant teaching practices. And we're also going to start to really focus on some of the resources that there are. Books, movies, documentary specials, things of that nature, stuff that you can use in your classroom. Is it going to be perfect? Probably not. Are we going to make mistakes along the way? Oh yeah, absolutely. But we're going to try to do what's best, because what we do matters, and we want to be the change.